everyone. On behalf of Don Bosco, the webinar team, and wonderful Chef Meher, I would like to thank Irfan. I want to say Chef Irfan, but I've known Irfan since he was in my class. So Irfan and Chef Arun for taking the time, especially Chef Arun, because we twisted your arm last minute and you're here and you're so beautifully going to show us all your wonderful talents. We're going to drool on this end of the webinar, but it's okay, I guess. So thank you, both of you, for this wonderful afternoon. Meher, for our students and for the ex-students who are watching, from a lot of our guests who are watching, Chef Meher is our food production lecturer who's come with a lot of experience, has worked at RTI, has worked with the Taj, has worked as the only person who headed the Food Bank Asia, and so takes on every single project with a lot of detail. So I know that this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful event. I hand it over to you. And again, thank you, Irfan. And thank you, Chef Arun. Meher, over to you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
So let's get down to beginning with our webinar. Every person, every child, kid in school, college, no matter what their background, deserves to learn how to cook, and everything about food, deserves to know where it comes from, deserves to know how to make and prepare that, and also, you know, how it affects our bodies. I believe this is a skill as important as even reading and writing is. So our webinar today is on roasting and tandoor. I'd like to begin here itself to let our audience know that there has been a slight change in today's panelists. Chef Irfan is on as the chef who is going to speak to us about roasting, but we do have Chef Arun with us who will speak about the tandoor. Mr. Mandeep Singh Chahal, who was our original speaker, has not been able to join in due to an emergency that has happened at home. We are very, very grateful to Mini Punjab, especially to Chef Arun, chef and proprietors Arvind and Harmeet of Mini Punjab, to fill in at the last minute and to allow Chef Arun to join us and do the demonstration for the tandoor. Thank you very much. We're indeed extremely grateful. So, Chef Milroy, may I ask you to please start the...
I'll do that. Yes.
Thank you. So, like I've said, our webinar is on tandoor and roasting. Can I have the second slide, please? We at Don Bosco take the legacy of Saint John Bosco forward, educating the young for life and livelihood. Next slide, please. On behalf of the management, staff, faculty at Don Bosco, please allow me to welcome our two guests, Chef Irfan and Chef Arun, all our students, all our friends and guests, and everybody who has chosen to join our webinar this afternoon. Next slide. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Chef Irfan Pabani. I'm saying Chef Irfan. He's now a fellow colleague. I've also had the pleasure of teaching Irfan. He's an alumnus of Haft Sapphire Polytechnic. He began his career with some really well-established standalone fine dine restaurants under the Over, La Cucina, Sejo and the Soul, Hakkasan, Yuacha. In 2012, he started his own restaurant, the Sassy Spoon. At present, Irfan consults for Soda Bottle Opener Wala, a chain of restaurants with the Olive Group. Irfan literally redefines the concept of a cool chef, not to take away from the fact that he's extremely talented, very, very skilled at his work, and has a lot of knowledge, which we're going to be very happily sharing with him over this webinar today. Irfan, thank you very much for joining us. We're very happy to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Our second guest and panelist today is Chef Arun Rokre. Chef Arun Rokre has very kindly stepped in at the last minute. Till about 30 minutes ago, we did not even know that we would be requesting Chef to step in and help us, take this webinar today forward. Chef Arun, it is indeed our honor and our pleasure. We're extremely grateful to you and to Mini Punjab for being with us today on this webinar. Thank you so much. Next slide, please. Yeah. Ma'am Annabelle, our head of department, has already welcomed everybody, and she has welcomed both the chefs. Both of them have very kindly also said hello. Chef Arun, if you would like to just say hello to our guests also.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Chef. Very, very happy to have you here. It is indeed our pleasure.
Thank you.
Chef Melroy, may I request you please to continue with the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So there's cooking and there's cooking. All of us have taste, and there's nothing that stops us from understanding the difference of what tastes good and what does not appeal to us. Most people today have been making the best use of this enforced me time, as I like to call it, learning to cook, learning to bake, posting beautiful pictures of their food all over social media. Roasting and tandoor, two cooking techniques that we're going to share with you today, could be classified as, a technique where each can be grouped in their own category, or it could be combined with other cooking methods, combining dry and wet cooking methods as well. Roasting is where probably, the history of where food actually began, or cooking as we know it began. I don't know, did a piece of meat fall into the fire, or did early man take a piece of meat, plug it into a stick and hold it over the fire? Whatever may be the genesis, man was awakened to the delights of roasted meats. And here, let me reiterate, I'm not boasting, I'm simply hosting tandoor and roasting. Next slide, please. So roasting and tandoor, both methods of cooking, which follow and, follow the method of cooking where dry heat is what actually cooks the food. One, where we say roasting, it could be an electrical piece of equipment, an electrical oven. And the other, which is this clay cylindrical oven, which also is known as a tandoor. Next slide. Heat. Heat in an oven typically begins at high heat. So there is quick browning. And then we lower this heat to ensure that there is even cooking that takes place, and that's how we finish the cooking. Whereas in a tandoor, the heat is very consistently intense. Therefore, food cooks very, very much faster. Next slide. Temperatures. Temperatures in the oven could begin for the oven as much as 150 for cooking meats, going up to 180 for cooking chicken, and up to 210. This I'm talking about is centigrade. If it goes more than 210, you've got very goes, there's no on and off button. The tandoor systematically approaches a 480 degrees centigrade temperature and hence requires a lot of skill with the person who is handling the tandoor. Next slide, please. Thank you. The time in the oven could be anything from 35 minutes to 45 minutes. It could be 2 hours for maybe roasting of turkey, and up to 3 to 4 hours if you're roasting a larger joint of meat. I think Chef Irfan will be, able to guide us a little bit more today when he speaks about, and he's going to very happily also demonstrate for us on the roasting technique. Tandoor, 3 to 4 minutes, and you have a roti or a naan cooked. 9 to 12 minutes, you have tikkas, kebabs ready. And in 20 minutes, an entire chicken. You understand, right? 400 plus degrees centigrade, obviously the time is going to reduce. Next slide, please. So roasting can be done in the oven, could be done on a spit, could be done on a barbecue grill, on a grill. Whereas the tandoor, it's a clay oven with some sort of insulating material that could be metal, it could be cement, and the food gets cooked. And that's what we, cook in, and we eat food off from there. Next slide, please. Aroma. What does one say about aroma? We're talking about the smell, we're talking about the fragrance, we're talking about the odor, we're talking about the bouquet. It's like cooking at its best. It's at cooking at its most supreme. In roasts, we say the aroma is roasty, it's meaty, it's smoky, it's strong, it's healthy, it's robust, it's volatile. Whereas aroma in the tandoor, we know it's smoky and a distinctive charcoal smell that comes through the food. A fragrance for both that delights us, where we actually tend to believe that, the aroma is chewable. You need to understand that this is because of the Maillard reaction that takes place. Both in roasting and in tandoor, flavors combine, they emanate due to this Maillard reaction where the sugar in the meats react with the amino acids and they emanate a flavor that makes the taste very, very concentrated, makes the taste so concentrated that it releases into what we know as the aroma of roasted food. Whilst we are roasting our meats for that delicious taste, for that delicious crackle that we're looking out for in the meats, we also need to take care about retaining moisture. Marinating, we do that for the flavor. When we add the tenderizers, we're doing that just for that, to make the meat into a consistency where we can bite it and digest it, to make it tender. We have certain methods. First one being larding, where you actually take pieces of fat and you place them into the meat via a larding needle. You have barding, where strips of fat are placed on the meat and then the meat gets roasted. One of the oldest methods of preserving food, preserving meats, is brining. This method of food is coming back as a method of retaining the moistness, retaining the texture, retaining flavors, keeping the meat tender, and that's brining. Immersing that meat into salt solutions for a couple of days, for more than a few hours, so that the meat really becomes tender. Last but not the least, we talk about basting, where you baste your roasted meat periodically. Either you take a brush and you brush it over with fat, or you take a spoon and you spoon it over on the meats. I'd like to share one small, learning that I have got in my years of experience, that please, when you are basting meats in the oven, remove your tray and learn to shut the oven door. baste what needs to be basted, and then put the tray right back. This way, you are not only preserving the heat whilst roasting, but you're also saving time for, from allowing that oven to start building that temperature once again, because if the door is open, the oven temperature is just being lost. So here's where I end my bit. I will now, without further ado, move with Chef Irfan, who is going to be, answering a few questions, after which we will move to Chef Arun. Irfan?
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
You answered all the questions already.
No, Irfan, I'm sure there's going to be lots more that you're going to be adding on today. Thank you. Okay, so let's begin. So, we use this term roasting and grilling, and it's very often interchanged. So is there anything that's really different?
Just one sec, huh?
Okay.
Okay, you can see me now?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, so now my daughter Alika is helping me. So, so roasting and grilling. I think very, very importantly, roasting for me is when you roast something in an oven. Dry heat, latent heat. It's when you're not playing with whatever thing it is that you're roasting. You're not playing with it too much. Once you've marinated it, once it goes into the oven, you don't touch it unless you want to baste it. That's essentially what roasting is. Grilling for me is when you have a direct heat source, which the meat is exposed to. So it could be a charcoal grill. So it's exposed to the heat emanating from the lit charcoal. It could be a steel grill. And your steel grill, so when you chuck your stuff onto a steel grill, you also have lava rocks, which get heated with gas. And then which also, so you're using gas, but you're getting this lovely flavor from the lava rocks.
That's right.
So that's essentially it. You grill. You can even grill in an oven with the element on top.
That's right.
Or even elements on the side, and you need to keep on turning it to cook it. Very similar to broiling, because I know that's the next question that's going to come up. Broiling for me typically means giving it heat, a direct heat source from the top, could be from the bottom also, but you need to constantly turn the meat so that all the sides get evenly cooked. That's essentially what that is. So you're not touching anything. It's like baking. When you're roasting, it's like baking. Put it into the oven and just forget about it. Take it out ever so often just to baste it.
Thank you very much. So that moves me to my next question on carry over in oven roasting. Okay, so why do we say that when you roast a meat and when you remove it from the oven, it needs to be allowed to rest? And how long does one rest a roast?
Okay, so it totally depends from the size of the roast that you're actually roasting. But what tends to happen essentially when you're roasting any cut of meat, what tends to happen is it cooks from the outside to the inside. So all the protein is essentially solidifying. What you try to do is, so all of your juices sort of start collecting in the middle. What you want to do is, the minute you're done roasting, you guys should try it actually in college. The minute it comes out, try and cut the meat. All the juice is located in the center. So when you cut it, you'll suddenly have all these juices flowing. What you do when the minute you rest your meat, what tends to happen is that all those juices tend to get redistributed. So it's sort of, it's been under this intense heat. So, 10, 15 minutes, depending again on the size of the cut, just let everything calm down. It's all about being calm and that's what's important. So it just redistributes all the juice.
Thank you, thank you. That sounds really good, and you're absolutely right. We've tried it, and sometimes in our hurry when we try and cut the roast, we see all these juices literally
Yes,
spending
and
themselves on the chopping board itself.
yeah, and that's sacrilege. You know, you want
Absolutely,
all those juices in there. Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, okay. So tell me, Irfan, is it absolutely necessary to sear the meat before we put it into roasting? And I mean, is there a sort of a process that one follows or a plan of work that one follows when one is roasting meat?
Okay, so look, you know, Meher, what's really fabulous about roasting is it's a no-brainer. You need to have a fabulous marinade. You need to make sure, if possible, that you can marinate for a minimum of 12 hours, even if it's a rub.
Okay.
You need to make sure that what I do is I don't sear it in a pan. When I did the pork shoulder for the pulled pork, I set the oven to about 220, and I put the meat in, and it sort of seared because of that heat.
Yeah.
It's the outside started getting charred, and I put the oven onto a fan. What tends to happen is fan is easily 20 degrees more than just a normal than just latent heat, you know, than just normal heat. And that really helps sort of char the outside just that little bit. And then I actually switched to about 130 degrees, and I roasted this pork shoulder for about 5 hours.
5 hours.
5
Wow.
hours, yeah.
That must
At
be
about
good.
130.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so the searing happens. I do a lot of searing when I'm braising stuff. So if I had to braise this pork, then I would first sear it on really high in oil with a lot of rosemary and garlic. And then I would then start my braising process of, you know, take it out and then sort of start cooking all your veggies in, put it back in, add your stock, add your wine, you know, and then just let it reduce and let it cook.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a wonderful tip for us also to, know about.
Yeah.
So, Irfan, we have this concept where you pack a whole fish in salt
Yes.
before roasting.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how does that work?
So essentially, the reason why you do something like that is when you're sort of working with things that are a little more delicate. This sort of helps even the whole cooking process. So what you do is, as opposed to exposing your meat or your fish directly to the elements, you sort of give it a coating. So it sort of acts like a cooking medium, so to speak. It could be your you know how when you encase something, it sort of heats up evenly, and then it transfers the heat onto the meat that you're cooking. It's essentially a process where you don't want to mess up the meat, you don't want to overcook it, but you need to just make sure that you get an even cooking temperature throughout the whole piece of fish that you're cooking. So you can just coat it with salt, and then obviously you've got to remove the salt crust before eating the fish. But it just ensures an even cooking time and an even cooking temperature, and keeps the moisture in.
Thank you so much. So now we've spoken about red meats, we've spoken about fish. What about if we have vegetables? What vegetables actually lend themselves good in roasting, and is there anything else that one keeps to needs to keep in mind whilst roasting of vegetables?
Okay, so for me, number one, very, very important is you need to add some element of shortening. So whether it's olive oil, whether it's ordinary oil, a good amount of seasoning, some herbs, but you need to have some amount of oil, otherwise it'll tend to dry up. So I would love to do, and I have actually done one with Alika, where we did a demo and we did roasted root vegetables.
Okay.
And so I used turnip, I used beetroot, I used potatoes, I used onion, and we just sort of toss it in olive oil and some herbs, and just in the oven. And it comes out absolutely fabulously. Carrots, of course. Very easy to do. Peppers, everyone does peppers. So you just need to sort of oil your peppers into the oven, especially if you want. First of all, you get this lovely, lovely, lovely caramelization and this lovely flavor from roasted peppers. Number two, once you take them out, if you put them in a bag or keep them covered for a bit, the skin comes off really easily. So it's really superb with salads. Very nice as a, you know, you can even do a roasted pepper tapenade. One of my favorites that I absolutely love, which just needs a little bit of salt, pepper, and a little bit of oil, is roasted garlic. Nothing gets better than roasted garlic with, you know, with a pulled pork. So you roast your garlic with the pork, and then once you're done, you just squeeze it all out. Just fabulous.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, Chef, coming to one last question before we move on to Chef Arun. You are the country head for Soda Bottle Opener Wala.
Yeah.
You are overlooking, I think, more than 8 restaurants throughout the country. Yeah, 8 restaurants. So, I mean, how does give us from the point of view for the students to understand, how does a single person manage and overlook 8 restaurants in different parts of the country?
So the key here is to have a good team. I think there's nothing better than a good team, which is why, you know, for all you guys out there, the most important thing for you guys to do is to make sure that whether you're in the kitchen, whether you're in the front of the house, your relationship with them has to be key. I think the way I function is to sort of make sure that everybody who I know gets close to me, because then I can get my work done. Then they're honest with me about what's happening, because I just need to ask one question and you know, I'm sorted. It's not easy, but it's very, very important. A lot of times there's always this issue between the front of house and the back of house, and that should never ever happen in any establishment, because the success of any establishment is to make sure that everyone gets together and works well together. So it's a question of perspective, and it's a question of attitude. And if you have the right attitude, I mean, you can accomplish anything. Honestly, you can accomplish anything. So for me, it's about having a team together. It's not easy to do. Food will never be the same in one place. It'll always differ. But the key and the hope that we always have is to try to make sure that it always remains consistent. Not an easy thing to do, but if you have a good team with you, you know, you're sorted.
Yes, I'm absolutely sure. It must be you know, actually requires a lot of effort.
Yeah,
and a lot of
yeah.
Yes, I'm sure, and I'm sure you must be doing it really well, knowing the kind of, like we said, cool chef that you are, getting along with, I think, almost everybody. I don't think that must be too difficult for you.
Yeah, you have your moments. You have people who sort of think very differently from the way you do. But you know, it's part and parcel of the whole process. So you know,
absolutely,
it's okay. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you, Chef. Now I think we'll move on with Chef Arun. And just before we move to Chef Arun, I'd like to tell all the audience here, Chef Irfan is going to demonstrate on the roasting technique. I think Chef has already prepared the pork, because like he said, it's taken more than 6 hours for him to roast it. So obviously he can't roast that thing, but he will be showing it to us. He'll be showing us how to pull it, and he will also share a little bit more about pulled pork once he does the demonstration. After Chef Irfan, Chef Arun will also be doing the demonstration, but I'll move on with Chef Arun now and ask him a few questions just to sort out and understand how the tandoor operates. Thank you, Chef Irfan. Chef Arun, once again, hello, and thank you very, very much. On behalf of Don Bosco, I'm very, very grateful to have you here with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chef, so can we just begin with one question? How exactly does the tandoor function?
Tandoor cookery is an Indian method of cooking.
That's right.
Over a charcoal fire in a tandoor.
Sorry.
Tandoor cookery, an Indian method of cooking style over a charcoal fire.
Sure. Sure. So, like I've explained in one of my earlier slides, it's a cylindrical clay oven and meat is put inside and that's how we cook it and we serve. Is that right, Chef Arun? Yes. So, Chef Arun, when you put food into the tandoor, do you need to, you must be marinating it, right? So, I mean, is there a specific time that you marinate the chicken or the sikh kebab?
Yeah, whatever vegetable or you chicken or meat, you have to marinate before 4 or 5 hours or
Okay.
overnight. If you put overnight marination, its taste will be increased more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If
Okay.
you are late
Great.
night, 4 to 6 hours, at least you have to marinate your chicken, vegetable, fish, mutton, whatever, etc.
Yes, I'm sure. And I'm sure, Chef, that as somebody who operates the tandoor, you must be having to, keep all these marinades, keep the meats and all ready maybe a day in advance so that you can use it. Or does your chef come in the morning and your staff, they marinate, they cut and all and keep everything and immediately, cook it up?
No, marination you have to make the earlier one day before. Like last night, I have to marinate chicken and kept it inside the refrigerator.
Okay.
And next day morning, 12 o'clock when the orders come, guest comes, we have remove the chicken and finally we put some little oil, ghee on top, and then we assemble inside the rod. This is called sikh.
Yes, chef. So, chef, since you're saying that, we also assemble and we put it on the rods and the seeks, I know from experience that the Sikh kebab seek or the skewer is different from the skewer that is for the chicken.
Chicken, yeah.
Yes, chef, can you just show it to us and explain just a little bit about that?
Yes, yes. We have different type of rods here, skewers.
Yes.
This is like a plain one. This is the plain one, and another one is we have to like a square shape. So this is we are going to use for vegetable, paneer.
Even Sikh kebab, chef? Does Sikh kebab go on the round one or the square one?
Square one is for the sikh kebab.
Okay, Sikh kebab.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So I'd like to just add on over here that the round and the square skewers that are used so that, the meat is able to hold or grip onto the skewer and doesn't slide off immediately when it goes into the tandoor, right? Yes. So chef, when we buy a new tandoor, we use this word tandoor ko taiyar karna hai. Or we need to season this tandoor. So can you just tell us how one seasons a tandoor?
Yeah, when you purchase a new tandoor, you have to season with the peanut, jaggery, and mustard oil and salt.
Yes.
So and some people using egg also.
Okay.
We have to marinate tandoor like 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have to keep for 4 days or 3 days. We have to marinate again and again.
So chef, every day you have to put this thing for 4 days, or only once you put and then leave it for 4 days?
You have to marinate 3-4 times oftenly.
Every day 3-4 times, or in
No,
3
per day.
Per day. Okay, that much. Okay. So chef, if like in an oven, when you come to the kitchen, you put a button on, you switch it on, your oven has started. But tandoor, there is no button. So how long does it take for the tandoor to get heated?
If we need, we have to we need some chicken or sikh kebab in the evening 6 o'clock. So we have to start the tandoor before 1 hour.
1 hour. Okay.
We have to light the charcoal before 1 hour or 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it will take time 45 minutes to reach the tandoor properly inside.
And chef, in the night, when we close the kitchen, do you put the tandoor completely off, or it's a little bit burning so that next day again you can reignite?
Yeah. No, we keep the lid on top tandoor, and there is a small door downstairs. We switch off the tandoor lock, and we keep one lid on top of the tandoor.
Okay. So I guess that just keeps the thing burning, but at a very low flame.
When you come, there is a little bit fire in charcoal, so it's I find it is with another charcoal.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Chef Arun. So if we were to, you know, round this up and say a tandoor cook or a tandoor chef needs to be somebody who's physically and mentally strong, because if one has to put one's hands into, you know, an oven that goes up to 480 degrees in heat,
Yeah.
obviously it has to be somebody who's very strong.
It's a too high temperature, 480 degrees centigrade, almost 900 degrees Fahrenheit tandoor temperature.
Absolute. So, chef, when you choose somebody, what do you test when you choose a chef? You know, you must be choosing people to help and work with you. So, what do you look out in that cook?
That those people are strong by like hardworking, and they're
Yes.
very sincere, and they have to a lot of patience because it's very hot, 400 degree centigrade temperature is too high.
Yes.
They have to cool down themselves all time.
Yes, absolute. I'm sure, chef, one of the best things that you could have told us, and I think that is not only for tandoor, is that when you're in the kitchen, one requires to have a lot of patience. It's a very hot place anyway in the kitchen, and I'm sure near the tandoor it must be even more hot. I'm absolutely sure that, you know, near the tandoor it's even more hot. So one needs to have a very cool and calm disposition to be able to work in the kitchen. Thank you very much, chef. And now we will move on to Chef Irfan. And Irfan, we'll start with the demonstration of your product.
Okay, fine. So one sec, I'll just, Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys so one thing that I really want to first very quickly tell everybody here is, obviously for soda bottle opener wala, you would ask what is the stuff that we actually roast there. So we actually do a chicken cutlet. So it was like the normal chicken cutlet, which was, I think, kothmir, chili, chicken all boiled together, shredded, and then you make your cutlet out of that. What I said was, why don't we roast the chicken? Let's use a good roast chicken and then make your cutlet out of that. So what we took it even a step further. So first we do a smoked chicken cutlet. And what we do first is we roast the chicken. We shred it and then we smoke it. We smoke the chicken before we actually make the cutlet. So I just absolutely love, you know, smoking of meats and smoking of food. So for me, it's like smoked bengal, I just absolutely love. And so that's what we did. And it's one of our best sellers because you get that lovely smoky flavor, but you know, the fact that you've actually roasted the chicken makes such a big difference. But here, I am now gonna show you, Alika, you're just gonna have to, sorry. Here. So I just put this into, we roasted this yesterday. And so you can see how, yeah, so you can see how it's been seared on the outside. I kept on basting it. It's looking a little dry here, but it's not, trust me.
Yes.
I'll show you in a bit. I also want to very quickly show you, you can keep this here. I just very quickly want to show you. So we had a lot of fat that came out from this. But what I did when we were done, Alika, you can show them this, is I took out all the pan juices and put it in the fridge. Now what that does is it allows for the fat to set on top. And this, as much as it's really, really nice and yummy, is not good for health. And so we take that out. It comes out much easier when it's been in the fridge. And then we're going to use the jus for eventually reheating the pulled pork with the barbecue sauce.
Okay.
And so that's what you have there as your jus. Lovely
Absolutely
flavors.
lovely.
Yeah. It's absolutely stunning.
It looks great, yeah.
It smells even better.
I'm sure. Absolutely.
And so yeah, this is what this is. I am just going to pull this out. Give me 1 second. Where's my phone? So pulled pork sounds nice. You can slice it if you want to, but of course we're gonna pull it. That goes here. Easy to do it with your. It's very easy to do with a fork. Yeah. You know the good part. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes, absolutely, Irfan.
The really nice part. So this is your pulled pork. This is essentially what you're doing.
Alika, can you just take the camera a little? Yeah, that's perfect now. Yes, we can see the beautiful strands of pork now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you want, the best part about when you're roasting a shoulder is it's a very forgiving cut of meat. You never want to over roast because that's the worst thing you can ever do. But you know, you roast pork shoulder for maybe even half an hour, 45 minutes extra, it's gonna be fine. You know, you're not going to have a disastrous thing. You can't leave it there for, you know, maybe a couple of hours or 3 hours extra. You know, but you know, you always, it's just so nice to then finally, you know, and the best part about pulled pork, I'm doing a burger, but you can put it into your pasta. You can put it, this of course, which I'm just pointing out to, is the cutlet.
Yeah.
Which we do. And so this is just one sample of that, which is the cutlet from Soda Bottle Opener Wala.
Great.
But yeah, and you can use this as a pizza topping. You can use this in pasta. If you want to, you can sort of slice this. You know, you don't have to just pull it. You can slice it. But yeah, this is what we've got here. So now, this is pretty much, I think, enough for a portion of.
It looks fantastic.
Yeah,
it looks so nice and tender. So tell me, Irfan, is the temperature different when if I were to be roasting, say, a roast buff or a roast chicken, and would it be different since you're roasting, you know, for pulled pork? I mean, is there a difference in the temperature?
So there is, you know, the thing about buffalo is the more you cook it, the more tender it gets. So for me, buffalo goes through many stages. When you're doing it rare, medium rare, super. When you get to sort of medium well, it's okay. The minute you hit well done, it's a disaster.
Absolutely.
Then you need to sort of keep on cooking it, and either you do a pot roast or you just continue to cook it. I do a Mexican dish where I put a lot of peppers, onions, garlic, etc., in. And you need to sort of cook it for about 2 hours till the protein eventually breaks up, and then you finally have a really, really soft cut of meat. But each one will depend. See, at the end of the day, they categorize pork as pink meat, buffalo and lamb is red meat.
That's right.
Mutton, you always have to, unless you're using New Zealand lamb, you always, especially our Indian mutton, you can't eat it raw. There's just no way. You have to either pressure cook it or you have to cook it for 2.5 hours. It's the way it is. But when you look at buff, it's very, very different. And so each meat works very differently. Each meat, but typically if you're going to do a slow roast, your 120 to 150 is the perfect temperature.
120.
Yeah.
Is that what you've used today when you've done your roast?
For the pork, yeah. I did it,
yeah.
like I said, I did it at about 220 for about 20 minutes just to get that sear. Listen, guys, remember one thing. I'm saying 20 minutes. It could be 15 minutes in some ovens. It could be 10 in others. It totally depends. So you need, the key is just not to put it in and forget it. The key is to be mindful that it's there. It's always very important to respect the ingredients that you're working with. You sort your respect for ingredients out, and you're sorted for life.
Fat side up or fat side down?
Respect your spouse also. Female.
So is it fat side up or fat side down when you roasted the pork?
Fat side up, always.
Fat side up, okay.
Which is why when you were mentioning earlier, you can either do larding, where you actually put fat on top.
Yeah.
And that's essentially it. When you already have fat on your, I try to trim off as much as possible. I'll show you. Look at this from here. I still have some amount of fat here, you know, so you can see some of the fat. You don't want to see
we can.
Yeah, you don't
Yes.
want to get rid of all of it because I mean, what's a good cut of pork without any fat in it?
Absolutely.
You know, so a lot of people say, oh, we don't want the fat, but you know, you really want
That's
the fat.
actually the best part, I would say.
Yeah, it's fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, yesterday I had some skin and I did some crackling also, and
Wow.
that came out absolutely superb.
Okay. Lovely.
So, so can I quickly do a burger
Yes.
for you guys?
Yes, 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 please.
Yeah. So this is what we've got. I'm just gonna switch the fan off. I am not going to add any. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start with is just putting, I could just show it here, just putting a little bit of the jus into the pan. And then I'm doing a barbecue sauce. So here, I'm just adding the barbecue sauce into this.
Okay.
If you have some roast garlic, the best thing to do is just, you know, squeeze the roast garlic into this. I didn't do any yesterday.
So Irfan, did you make your own barbecue sauce?
So this one I haven't,
Okay.
but we actually make our own barbecue sauce at the Sassy Spoon,
Okay.
and we actually make it with Coke.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a Coke-based barbecue sauce.
Okay.
So you're not putting too much of ketchup because you already have a lot of sweetness from the Coke. And then we smoke the barbecue sauce once it's finished cooking. We just smoke it for a couple of hours because then it just takes it to a totally different dimension. Yeah.
Yep.
So here is your. It's already heated up. I'm gonna add the pork into this. I'm just gonna make sure that the sauce coats it. So while this is happening, okay, that's very yum. While that's happening, Anika, I'm just gonna quickly slice a burger bun. Okay, guys, quick tip, which I'm gonna show you. I'm just gonna plug this toaster in, sorry. When you wanna toast your bread just a little bit, I just put that on top and put the toaster on. And I just let this toast on top.
Lovely.
Yeah, just to get a little bit of toasting going. This is nice and warm now. So listen, guys, what I am doing here is I have made my own mustard. So that's, yeah, I made my own mustard. I make homemade mustard because I don't like the store-bought mustard. And I'm just gonna mix it with a little bit of mayonnaise. You're free to add cheese. You're free to add sliced tomatoes. You can add some lettuce. You can sear some onions. So for Ritu, in fact, I'm going to be searing some onions and putting that into the burger. So sear the onions. If you have the time, you caramelize the onions. But you already have a lot of sweetness going on with the barbecue sauce. So maybe, so it's a total perspective, and you have to eventually decide what sort of flavor you're looking for when you assemble your. So this is nice.
You want to tell us a little bit about that mustard sauce of yours?
Yeah, sure. What do
Please.
you want to know?
I want to know how you made it.
Okay, I'm going to show you something just now.
Okay.
I actually, so this is my mustard, which has been soaking since yesterday.
Okay.
Which I'm gonna make some more mustard. In fact, right now.
That's your regular black mustard seeds, right?
Yeah, regular black mustard seeds,
Okay.
and you need to soak it in vinegar and water
Okay.
overnight so that the mustard absorbs the khattaness from the vinegar, but the water sort of tones it down. And then you blend it. I blend it with a little bit of salt, with a little bit of honey, I take out all the water, whatever balanced water is there. I don't do it with that. But honey, you can put herbs and a little bit of salt, and just blend
Honey,
it
herbs,
till
and
it
salt.
boils.
Super. Thank you.
Yeah.
That really sounds good, and I'm going to try it out, and then I'm going to get back and let you know how it
Yeah, you
tastes.
let me know. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So here,
Absolutely.
this is nice and toasted now.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is, and what I always do when I am, so I don't use butter. I just lots of mayo. What I do is, where's the mustard gone?
Yeah.
Oh, here. So what I do is, I just put the mustard with the mayo. Yeah, it just spreads a lot more evenly. So I just mix it this way. So then suddenly your mayo mustard's all incorporated together.
Yes.
Yeah, much easier to work with.
Yes.
A little bit here. That's it. And then, like I said, if you want tomatoes, you can do tomatoes. If not, you can just do, I'm just doing the pulled pork. Maybe just a little bit of, sorry, barbecue sauce.
Okay.
That's it. Like I said, you want to do tomatoes, you can. You don't want to, I haven't done that. And that's it. But yeah, that's pretty much done. I'm going to taste. Should we taste?
Oh yes, you're going to be the lucky one to taste.
Me and Alika.
Yes, you and Alika.
Yeah.
So tell me, Irfan,
Yeah.
can I do the same thing if I wanted to do pulled chicken, or is there no such thing as pulled chicken and it's only pulled pork?
No, you can. When you do, okay, wait, let me just take one bite. Okay, very good.
Oh, I can imagine.
So, yeah, I'll, so very quickly, when you do, have you had the Hainanese chicken rice?
No.
You haven't had the Hainanese chicken rice? You've had roast chicken, right?
Yes, I've had.
Perfect. So that's all you need to do. Roast your chicken, pull it, and you're sorted.
Okay.
But the thing is, Meher, avoid doing it when you're cooking, when you're grilling your chicken. So if you're gonna grill a chicken, it's gonna get a lot tougher.
Yeah.
A lot firmer.
Yeah.
It'll be a little harder to shred, but very easily shreddable. Chicken is such a nice meat. You know, a lot of people say it doesn't have flavor. A lot of people say, you know, you can't get any flavor into it. I think the key about working with chicken is again, respect for the ingredient. Understanding that, and all your students are going to laugh, but understanding that when you cook the breast meat, it cooks a lot quicker and dries out a lot quicker than the leg and the thigh.
That's right.
So whenever I'm doing anything with boneless chicken, I always put the leg meat in, let that cook down to about half, and then I add the breast piece in, because they don't have even cooking times.
Yes.
And the minute you understand your ingredient and how you need for it to eventually, how it eventually works, it's half your battle's won, because then you know you're sorted.
And what if we were using a full chicken? Then how do we take that into?
So you can't. You can't really do too much about that. You need to roast the whole thing. So
do you think we need to cover the breast or something?
No, not at all. When you make the Hainanese chicken rice, you actually put the whole chicken into stock. You start boiling it in normal water, which eventually becomes stock. But what you do is you've already put salt on the skin to essentially take out the moisture and tighten the skin. The key in Hainanese chicken rice is to have that lovely skin on top.
Okay.
The minute you take the chicken out, you have to plunge it into an ice bath. It's very important that the cooking process stops almost immediately.
Okay.
And that's what you do. So number one, the breast piece stops cooking
Yeah.
almost immediately. So it's not it's not going through this whole thing. Whenever you're roasting chicken, it's always tough to
Balance.
get it right, especially if it's a whole chicken. It's the nature of the beast, and there's nothing you can really do about it. Yeah.
Thank you, Irfan. That was extremely enlightening, and I'm sure a lot of us are going to be going home to practice all of this. I mean, we're all at home, but I know I'm going to get down to trying out this as soon as possible. Thank you so much. That was
No,
really
not at
fun.
all.
Thank you. So we'll move on with Chef Arun. Chef Arun? Yes. Thank you, Chef. Yes, Chef.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Chef Arun is going to demonstrate a couple of dishes. He's going to be doing a tandoori chicken tikka. He's going to be showing us Sikh kebab. He's also very kindly agreed to show us one vegetarian preparation, if that's possible, along with a roti and a naan, right? Thank you, Chef. Yes, Chef. Let's start with the tandoori.
You can start.
Yes, please, Chef. Please start. Thank you.
So I took all the ingredients here. Where your curd, red chili paste, and some Indian spices here.
Yes, Chef.
So we're going to start all the marination.
Okay. Okay.
Marination.
Great.
So already I took here some curd with some red chili powder, little bit black pepper, it's a ginger garlic paste, some kasuri methi,
Okay.
the green chili paste, some coriander and cumin powder. Already I made this.
Thank you.
This little bit chaat masala,
Okay.
black salt, a little bit black salt, and this is regular salt, some red chili paste. We have to soak the red chili first, and then we have to make it puree.
Okay.
And this is a very nice. This is a mustard oil,
Okay.
not a salad oil, regular oil. We need the
Yes.
tandoori marination. It's a
Absolutely.
mustard oil.
Chef,
So
why
it-
mustard oil and not regular oil?
Yeah, because the mustard oil gives the more flavor, more aroma, more like a fragrance when you eat the tandoori tikka or any preparation.
Absolutely.
So it's feel like aromatic.
Great. So viewers, this is one tip over here. Besides adding kasuri methi, chef's also adding mustard oil.
It's
And
a
that's going to give that.
roasted kasuri methi, not
Roasted.
plain. We have to roast first and then we have to blend it.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to add paneer inside it.
Yes.
We need paneer, not too much malai paneer. We need little. We are using malai paneer,
Yes.
very soft and very.
It will break otherwise, right?
It's
Yeah.
break. You have to turn very gently.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's really looking good.
I'm adding little bit more. Some hotels or some people adding color,
Yes.
but lots of now the color is banned over
Yes,
the
that's right.
five-star hotels
Yes.
and all the kitchens. So we are using red chili paste, so it gives red color.
Yes.
This supposed to have to keep it in refrigerator for 4 to 5 hours or overnight.
Okay. Even paneer overnight, huh, chef?
Yeah, paneer you can put 3 to 4 hours is okay for paneer, vegetable dishes. But
Okay.
meat dishes, if fish, chicken or mutton, we need like 8 to 10 hours also. Or
So, chef,
overnight.
if instead of paneer, is it possible to make with tofu or something? Is this possible?
Yeah, tofu we can make, but we have to cook it very carefully because it's going to down in tandoor very fast.
Yes.
Tofu is very
Absolutely right.
soft.
True. So,
Yeah.
chef, if we want to use some vegetables, then what other vegetables can we use?
We can use broccoli, mushroom, baby corn,
Huh.
potato, tandoori aloo.
So,
Tandoori
chef,
aloo.
if we want to do tandoori aloo, do we need to cook the aloo little bit, or we put it kacha only in the marinade?
No, we have to blanch it before we
Blanch it.
cook it. Yeah, we have to blanch it, remove
Okay.
the skin, and then you have to put on the tandoori masala, and then in skewers.
Okay.
Yeah, broccoli also we have to need little bit blanch. Baby corn also, if you want to cook baby corn or broccoli or mushroom.
Yes.
Yeah, mushroom you can use directly when we don't
Directly.
need to blanch. Yeah, because very soft and tender. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
I'll
absolutely.
show how to put in the skewers.
Yes, please.
My colleague will show you how to put in the skewer. We add some capsicum, onion, and
Okay.
tomato inside it.
Okay.
So it's help to hold the paneer and
That's
also
right.
give the colorful looks also.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, viewers, please note, chef is adding the tomatoes, the capsicum, and the onion,
Chunk of-
basically to hold the paneer so that it doesn't slide out. Chef, this skewer is the regular round one, or is it a square one?
It's a small square one.
Small square one.
Small square one, yeah. Very
Okay.
small square one.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's very thin.
Yes, yes. So that's it. That every
If you use the big skewers, the paneer get break. That's why we need very thin and
Small.
slim skewers. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, chef, how many minutes it will take in the tandoor to make this little light and brown?
It will take not more than 6 minutes or 7 minutes.
Okay.
6 to 7 minutes enough for paneer,
Yeah.
and it need more. This is very important. We have to put carrot or potato, raw carrot or potato.
Raw.
Yeah, raw one, because it's not going to down in tandoor while cooking.
That's right. That's right. That's another beautiful tip given.
The
Thank you.
potato
So
or carrot help to hold the all paneer.
yes.
Yeah.
So this potato which you're putting, chef, once you put it inside the tandoor, then do you have to take a new potato when you put in next salia, or you can use the same?
No, we are going to throw out it.
It will throw it out. Okay. Okay. Right. Thank you.
So now we are going to put in the inside the tandoor.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Great, great. Viewers, see the tandoor and see how much you can see the fire also, as well as the coal.
Because yeah, you can see we are going to put the skewers inside the oven. It's tandoori oven. Sorry. Now it will take time for like 6 to 7 minutes.
Okay.
I'm going to close the little bit lid.
Chef, somebody has put up a question right now which came that do we need to keep space between the paneer, or we keep it close to each other, it is okay before we put it inside the tandoor?
No. If you put the space inside a little bit, so it's going to come down. So
Okay.
when you close,
Keep
close
it close together.
yeah.
Okay, we've answered that question then. Thank you very much for that question.
So I keep on one skewer ready because it will take 6 to 7 minutes. That's
Okay.
why I keep one skewer ready here.
Okay.
Once it cooks after 7 minutes, when you
Yes.
take it, yeah, this is the raw one, and I
Okay.
kept the cook one for save the time.
Yes, chef.
Yeah, once you take it outside, you have
Yes.
to add a little butter.
Yes, you're adding butter also to baste it and keep it moist, right?
Yeah, keep it moist.
Yes, thank you, Ram. Thank you very much. And so, chef, tell us, when you take it out of the tandoor, do you? I've sometimes seen that the tandoori chefs, they hang the salias at the side. Is there any particular reason for that?
I can't. What is it? Pardon?
Sorry, chef. Sometimes when they take it out of the tandoor, they don't immediately take it out and put it on the plate. They hang it for a couple of minutes.
They hold that rod. I'll show you how. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Like
Yes,
a butter, and they're going to hold this side. We have one like this here.
yes, yes, yes.
For 5 seconds.
Okay.
After that, it's supposed to serve the immediately because it's tandoori dishes get
It turns cold. Yes, absolutely. Oh, that's a beautifully garnished plate.
I make the plate already here for the
Yes.
paneer.
Yes. Please see how chef is removing the paneer very
Okay.
gently and in small pieces and, not all at one time. That is very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, this is I will make plate already here.
Yes.
And if you have to make more innovative, you can do like this also. You can take some green chutney or it's like a, yeah, you can put here and then you can make like this.
Oh, lovely. Thank you so much. That is so nicely done.
And some, you can add in the paneer tikka like this.
Oh, beautiful.
It look more innovative. And
Absolutely
I
beautiful.
have some here microgreen, so you
Oh,
can put top like this also. So it's look more
looks lovely and fresh and green and
depend on your
brown and
needs and your experience.
absolutely, absolutely wonderful, chef. Thank you.
I'll show the another preparation here.
Yes, yes.
Chicken tikka.
Yes, please.
The same marination for paneer tikka and chicken tikka, the curd. Yes. Same things which I add in paneer, red chili paste.
So, chef, for one question again, the
Yeah,
red
yeah.
chili paste, when you make it, do you
Yeah.
remove the seeds and then grind, or you grind with the seeds?
No, no, we have to remove the seed. We have
Okay. Okay. So, Joel, that's your question answered.
yeah. Pardon?
Thank you, chef. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we have to remove the seeds. We have to soak the chili in hot water for 1 hour. Then we have to remove the seed, and then we are going to make the paste.
Great.
Now we are going to make chicken tikka. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the same ingredient for the paneer tikka and chicken tikka: black pepper, ginger garlic paste, kasuri methi, green chili paste, salt, black salt, red chili paste, and mustard oil.
Okay. Mustard oil. That's the key.
This is the chicken pieces, and
Yes.
I have to tell one thing because if we use all leg pieces, it's very tender. Some
Yes.
people don't like breast pieces because after it cooks, it look like
Becomes dry.
becomes dry.
That's
So
right.
if
That's
you use
right.
the leg piece, yeah, it's a
So,
very
chef,
soft
do
and
you
tender.
always use only leg, or do you use leg and breast together?
No, no. In chicken tikka, we use only leg
Only
pieces.
leg. Only leg pieces.
Only leg. Yeah.
So that's another tip
In
for all
keema,
the audience. Leg
yeah.
pieces whilst making tikkas.
Yeah. This is chicken tikka is ready now, and this marination is supposed to keep inside 4 to 5 or 6 to 8 hours or overnight.
So, chef, do we need any raw papaya or anything whilst making the chicken to make it soft or anything? Do we need to add, or it's
In
good
chicken,
enough?
we no need. No,
No
no.
need.
Raw papaya need only for mutton. While
Okay.
we making a mutton kebab or mutton steak, chicken we no need to raw papaya.
So, in the sikh kebab, papaya goes in, chef?
Yeah, sikh kebab marination. Sikh kebab, we have the chicken sikh kebab. We put very little, like 1 teaspoon
Okay.
papaya paste we need for this.
Okay.
Probably we need for mutton, not for chicken. We
Not for
avoid the papaya paste. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Great.
Happy.
I think
Oh,
somebody
happy.
has raised a hand. We'll take that question also. Just give us a couple of minutes and then we'll unmute and ask anybody who wants to directly ask any questions may do so. So, chef, when we serve tikkas, is it always this green chutney that gets served, or is there any other chutney that also gets served? Is there any
So
other
green
chutney we can serve?
It depend on your creation. You can make like a yellow chutney also. You can mustard, or you can use for the green chutney yellow marination.
Chef, what is
Like
yellow chutney, chef?
yellow chutney, make it by like a mustard paste,
Okay.
mustard, lemon, salt, pepper, like that. Yellow mustard we can use also for the another chutney.
Okay. So you
Or
mix
you
it
can
with dahi or something? or you
Pardon?
just for the chutney, when you make with the yellow mustard, you use the black mustard or you use the yellow mustard?
No, yellow mustard, not black mustard. Yellow
So
mustard.
all or split?
Split one, split one.
Split one.
Split one.
And
Yeah,
chef,
split.
you grind it and then you just serve it, or do you put it?
No. So then you have to put some seasoning inside.
Okay.
Like you put the red chili chop, salt, pepper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Or you can
And,
use the roasted chana dal also inside if you want to make a
Okay.
tea. Yeah.
Okay. And chef, any particular red chilies are used when we are making the marinade, or is it always Kashmiri?
It's Kashmiri chili. It's
Kashmiri
always
chili.
yeah.
Kashmiri. Okay. Okay.
Color, that's why color and flavor.
Great.
So I'll show how to put the chicken inside the skewers.
Yes, please, chef.
This is also one technique how to put the chicken inside.
Absolutely.
For the all students, it's come by experience and patience.
Yes.
Yeah.
As you all can see, if you can see very clearly, he's actually folding the chicken and putting it into the.
It's like how do we stitch the cloth or something like this.
Okay. And chef, here we don't need to put any onion and tomato inside, right? Because the chicken holds on the salia very easily.
Yeah. We don't need to any onion or.
So chef, how many pieces do we take out from one leg to make, so that the piece doesn't fall in, and also it's not too small or not too big? How many pieces from one leg?
Medium leg, it's come like 7 to 8 pieces in medium leg. 7 to 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. And chef, how long this will take to cook in the oven?
It take almost like 10 to 12 minutes
10 to
inside
12.
the oven.
Yes.
So I'll show how to put again.
Yes.
See this chicken going inside the tandoor.
Yes.
Now it's also will take like 10 to 12 minutes. So I'll close the little lid. So
Okay, I'm going to answer this question myself from Boko Chef. That you asked, why chef has not used gram flour. Okay, I think that's absolutely an optional use. Sometimes gram flour is added to curd, basically when your curd is not very thick. If you use very thick curd or hung curd, you don't need to put, because the gram flour is being added so that the marinade sticks on the meat. And if you've got using, you're using good thick curd, then you really don't need to add that gram flour. Yes, chef. So back to you. Sorry, somebody asked a question. I just chose to answer that.
can you repeat the question, please?
The question was that you have not used gram flour in the chicken.
No, we don't need to use the gram flour because we are hanging the curd like 6 to 7 hours, so it's all water comes out and it becomes.
That's right. So chef, the skewer in the chicken is the square one or the round one?
Which one? The round one skewers.
Round one. For the chicken, it's round.
Yeah, chicken is round skewers.
Okay.
Because it's hold very easily to round one.
Thank you. That's
Again, I'll show how to taking out the chicken from the oven. It's already cooked one, which I make before. Yeah. Once you apply the butter on top for the moisture.
Yes.
And again for 10
so
seconds.
you apply the butter whilst after half cooking, and then you apply and you put it right back inside. Is that it, chef?
After 50% and after 90%.
Okay, so twice.
Yeah, once 50% and after 90, 95, 96% you apply, and then again put inside for 2 minutes.
Okay.
And take it out, and again same before like this for 1 or 2 seconds before you are going to make things. Yes.
So chef, one more question. When we are making a tandoori marinade, should the curd be little sour, or it's better to use a little fresh, not sour curd?
No, it's supposed to be so normal. Either sourness inside, so not too sour or not too light.
Not too sour. Okay. And chef, just if you can also tell us if they wanted to make chicken malai tikka, then what will be the marination, chef?
Chicken malai tikka, we need cream, cheese, and some poppy seed paste, ginger garlic paste, and some green chili, and cardamom.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm showing how to remove again the chicken from the skewers.
Yes, please. Yes, Ayush, as you can see that the marination for both the chicken and the paneer is more or less similar. You can make the flavor a little stronger or less as you wish, but otherwise it's basically red chili paste powder,
More chili
kasuri
and
methi,
spices, right?
curd. It's all
Yeah.
very same.
Okay. So this is chicken tikka is ready here. Paneer tikka also ready.
Yes.
So now we are going to seek kebab.
Yes, chef.
This is seek kebab here. So we have chicken keema here, chicken
Okay.
mince.
Okay.
You can use leg or breast piece mix, no problem here.
Okay. Chef, this keema is made
We have chicken mince here.
in the restaurant itself, right? I'm sure you all must not be using ready-made, right?
Uh, so we have chicken mince here.
Yes.
Yeah. So some black pepper inside, little bit ginger garlic paste,
Okay.
again little bit kasuri methi inside it,
Okay.
green chili. Now we are avoiding red chili paste and black pepper also. We have some here black salt,
Okay.
regular salt,
Okay.
coriander and cumin powder, and some chaat masala also. And we are using here little of ghee.
Little
So,
ghee.
Yeah. So it's make a softer side and
So
some
chef,
mint.
because of the ghee, the thing won't become too soft. It won't fall off the salia when you're putting inside the tandoor.
No, ghee used because it's getting to like a softer and stickiness for the keema means.
Okay. Chef, I
Some
want to
people
ask
use it.
one question. When you make the keema, do you wash the chicken or do you try and keep the chicken dry? I mean, how do you make sure that there is not too much water in the keema?
Yeah. We have to wash the chicken and keep inside the strainer for
Yes.
30 to 45 minutes, and after all water drain out, then we are going to make keema.
Okay. Okay. The
So
ghee
this is
is
all
used
chicken.
for taste. We use the ghee for taste. It gives a much more creamier, a much more delicious, earthy flavor,
And
whereas mustard oil would give you a very mustardy flavor. That's why.
when you need this one like this, so
Yes.
ghee is used like a fat. Some people using the fat for chicken keema or mutton keema.
Yes,
So
chef.
ghee also make the role of the fat.
Okay.
So it's going to more stickiness about the by the ghee.
Thank you, chef. Thank you so much.
Stickiness come from the ghee. Okay, now I'm going to show how to.
So in short, chef, you're actually like literally massaging that keema. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm massaging because how long you're going to massage, so it's going more sticky and tight.
Okay.
So it
Okay.
going to hold the skewers very easily.
Okay. Okay.
If you want to more quantity, you have to make keema and keep inside the refrigerator for half an hour.
Okay.
You cannot put on the skewer directly. Once
And
you
chef, when we are making the keema, do we make it very fine, or do we keep it a little bit of bite and feel? And do we need to add anything to bind it?
We have to make keema, like we have to put 3 to 4 times inside the keema machine.
Okay.
Not 1 or 2 times, like 3 or 4 times. And we
Okay.
need a very fine one, not
Okay.
too the crunchy or something like
And does it require any binder? Do we need to add any chana, atta or any such thing whilst making seekh kebab?
No, we no need to put any like binding agent like a chana or something inside, because chicken have already fat, and after we're going to add the ghee, so it's
Yes.
binding automatically comes from the chicken and ghee.
Okay, so even in if we were making of lamb or mutton, then we would need to add chana atta as a binder.
No, no.
Sorry.
We
Do we
add
need
to
to
it
add
like a mutton seekh kebab or any mutton seekh. We need to add mutton fat inside it.
mutton fat? So is there any proportion, chef? Like this much quantity keema and this much quantity mutton fat?
If you're using 1 kg of mutton keema, we have need 100 gram of fat.
So about 10% basically.
Yeah.
Then we don't need to add ghee, chef?
Where in mutton keema also
Mutton?
ghee for flavor also, but not too much quantity, because we are already using like 100 gram of fat.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, chef. Great learning for everybody. I think we're getting a lot to learn today. I hope, everybody's making notes of these little things, especially students, because, you'll be able to be using this in your events to come when we do them in college.
This is also skill. How do you put inside the skewer?
Absolutely, absolutely. Please see this. Please see this very carefully.
Yeah.
Yes, please see this. See how the fingers are being used to grip the meat and to gently press it and to, make it slide on the skewer evenly. Not in too many lumps, very evenly. Thank you, chef. And thank you very much to your assistant. He's doing a wonderful job.
When you put on the top, skewers.
Yes. Then you pinch the top, right, chef? A little bit.
Water.
Yes. Can you see that, guys? Right at the tip, it has been pinched together so that it seals and sticks on the salia. It does not slide down.
You have to stick like this both the end, so it not goes down inside the tandoor.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much. Wonderful, wonderful learnings for us today.
एक मिनट पता नहीं स्क्रीन में दिख रहा है
Sangram, we don't need to actually give it any smoky flavor if you're putting it anyway in the tandoor. Because it's already going to get the smoky flavor when it goes into the tandoor. So it's not that you can't do it. There's nothing that you can't do in cooking, but it's not necessary.
It's not necessary. If you want more flavor, then you can give the smoke.
Exactly. It's not necessary actually.
You already have smoky flavor inside.
Yeah. Like I said, it goes up to 480 degrees. How much more flavor do you want?
Pardon?
So I'm just talking to that gentleman who said, do we need to smoke the meat?
It depends. Like some people give the smoke, the keema before going to put inside the tandoor.
Okay.
Smoke
It's not necessary, right, chef?
It's not necessary, but if you want to more flavor or more aroma, you want more smoky flavor, then you give the smoke like ghee and charcoal. Put on the ghee on top of the charcoal and flow.
Yes, to give it a dhua.
Yeah. So this is the raw one inside it, and this is the cooked one I made before.
Chef, how many minutes to cook this?
It's a chicken keema. It's take again 8 to 8 minutes, because it's chicken. Mutton seekh take almost 20 to 25 minutes.
Okay. And chicken takes about 8
to 10 minutes.
Okay, lovely, lovely. It looks great.
This is the ready one I taking out from the tandoor. Same again, like brushing the butter.
Yes.
So it look like a glossy.
Chef, one question from my side. Chef, when we are putting the chicken keema on the salia, do we need to make the salia, do we need to add any oil on the salia so that it comes off easily or any such thing?
No, it need to very dry.
Keep it dry.
Yeah, keep it dry,
the
not
salia
off.
dry. Thank you.
So this is the Sikh kebab is ready.
Yes, chef. And how do we take this off now from the salia?
I'm showing how to take it up. Hold it for a few seconds.
As you can see, guys, once again, the meat is being allowed to rest so that the juices redistribute themselves totally inside the kebab.
Kebab, yeah. It's supposed to go moisture inside,
Yes,
not
yes.
too dry, not too chewy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Kebab only need moist inside. A lot of
Yes.
people, like 90 people person, like the kebab like soft, not too
Absolutely. Melt in the mouth.
yeah, melt in the mouth. Exactly. I'll show how to remove it and how to cut and how to serve. We have
Yes,
to
please.
turn like this.
Okay. You're actually twisting it slightly.
You have to twist little bit.
Okay. Did you see that little flick of the thumb, guys? Where chef literally, released that top part.
Yeah, and we have to take it out the very little part from the front, not too much,
Yes.
so we can remove easily
Yes.
like this.
Lovely. Lovely. That is super good.
And on your restaurant size, how long you want to do.
Absolutely. Chef, how many grams of keema to make one Sikh kebab? This must be about 200 grams at least.
Almost 200 to 220 grams for one order.
One
One,
order.
one a la carte order, 200 to 250 grams.
Okay. Okay. Great. 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 Lovely. That looks super good.
It's again, how do you want to put this green chutney or something like this on top or something like this,
Okay.
or on side. One lemon on top here.
Chef, do you all serve anything called pineapple chutney?
Yeah, you can. It's on your imagination. Pineapple chutney, tomato chutney, roasted chana dal chutney,
Okay.
mustard.
Okay. And if we wanted to make a pineapple chutney, how does one make this?
Pineapple chutney, you have to make a pineapple chunks.
Okay.
Pineapple chunks, some the green chili, some mint chop inside, some black pepper, chaat masala, like that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, chef. Thank you so much. I guess you just mix that and serve that along whether with your kebabs or your tikkas, right?
Right, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is
Going
a
now make
lot
a
of learning.
So I'll show how to make a naan. And
Yes, chef. We're waiting for the naans and the roti.
we have naan dough already. We made the like a round size ball.
Chef, 1 kilo atta will give us how many naans and how many rotis?
1 kilo like 30 to 35 naans.
Okay, 30, 35 naans, huh? 1 kilo. Wow,
Yeah.
super.
25, sorry, 25. 20 to
25. Okay,
and roti we have 1 kilo like 30, 35 to 40 pieces.
okay.
Small.
Small.
Depend on
Yeah, that's obviously depending on the size. You'll get about 30, 35. If you're making very big ones, maybe you'll get 10, I think.
Yeah, depend on the ball size.
Yes, depending on the ball size.
The rest size you 1 kg atta, 1 kg flour, naan 20 to 25 pieces.
Okay, okay. Chef, how long we have to keep the atta for proving when we are making naan?
Pardon?
When we make the dough, no, for the naan, do we have to also let this rest before we use, right?
We have to give the rest to naan flour like 30 minutes and roti flour like 20 to 25 minutes. In 30 minutes also no problem.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We are going to make the naan.
Yes.
We have to flatten and little bit move from the clockwise. Very slowly. This is naan. We are going to make naan.
Absolutely. So first we make it round itself.
Little bit round and flatten by the fingers.
Yes.
You can dust the flour little bit.
See the way the chef is flicking it on his thing, and then he's pulled it from one side. Just to, yes, yes, lovely. Pulling it just, thank you. See how even and beautifully that is done.
So we stick inside the tandoor. You see.
Chef, when you're making the dough for the naan,
Uh,
do we need to add egg or can we make naan without egg?
the people depend on the people, so they like egg. If you veg people, we no need egg. Like a
Okay.
we can add the
Okay.
egg inside.
So it's not necessary, right?
No, it's not necessary. We can add milk if you vegetarian, and if non-vegetarian, you can add egg.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So naans also take like 1 to 2 minutes.
1 to 2 minutes. Super. Can you see that, everybody? The naan has been, it's gripping on the tandoor. It's only the round part that is actually touching. If you can see that. It's put so deftly inside. And please note how the chef takes it out. He's got one salia on it and one which he's taking to scrape it off. Yes, lovely. A couple of minutes itself, hardly a minute also. Temperature and heat is so fierce. Don't even need a minute.
Put here.
Super good. Look at how beautiful. Yes, you can use a little bit of curd, Ayush. Definitely curd helps in the fermentation. It makes the naan a little bit more light in texture. Definitely you can.
Okay, we are going to cut the naan here. One or two or three pieces. This is our naan is ready.
Great. Thank you, chef. That looks wonderful.
One last item is here. We are going to show the roti.
Yes, chef.
It's again whole wheat flour, some salt, and water when you're going to make the dough. It's a very basic. Whole wheat flour, salt, and water when you're going to make a dough. Yeah, so you are putting on his hand, same like a flatten.
Yes, chef. We can see that.
And
Yes. Please see, note audience that it's a round flattened and then put on this peda and then very gently and deftly put inside.
8 to 10 centimeter round flatten bed. Again, it takes 30 minutes to 25 to 30 seconds. Sorry.
Absolutely, absolutely. Chef, I've got a few questions if I can ask you at the same time whilst the naans are getting done.
Yeah.
Yeah, chef, somebody wants to know when making keema kebabs, what other binders can we use? Do we use only chana dal or any other atta can also be used?
When in keema or something?
In keema whilst making a seekh kebab.
Chicken seekh kebab.
Or chicken or mutton. Do we use, I mean, I know you said no for chicken, but if we are making with keema seekh kebab, as in mutton keema, then besides chana atta, is there anything else that we can use to bind that keema together?
No, chana dal is better for if you're using.
Okay.
You need to use the like a cashew nut you can use, but it's more expensive for that.
I understand. Absolutely.
Nut, or you can use the like flax seeds.
Absolutely. And chef, do you all make dora kebab in your restaurant? Dora kebab.
I'll show the roti first and help with the answer.
Yes. Thank you very much, chef. Please, sorry.
Same, I'm going to apply a little butter.
Yes.
This is also rotated ready here. Yes, madam. You're
Yes,
asking.
sir. Yes, chef. I wanted to know, do you all make something called Dora kebab? Have you heard of this?
Which one?
Dora.
Dora kebab, yeah, Dori kebab.
Dora kebab.
Dori, yeah.
Do you all, how, is that also tandoor necessary, or we can do it in an oven or something?
1 minute, I can't hear you properly. Can you repeat your question, madam?
Chef, Dora kebab or Dori kebab, do we put it only in the tandoor, or can it be done in an oven?
No, Dori kebab you can't put in the tandoor. You can, but there is the one thread inside, so you can't put it in the tandoor, that Dori kebab.
Okay.
Like a oven.
You need an oven. Okay, great. And chef, one more question. You have used black salt and regular salt.
Pardon?
In your marinations, you have used black salt and regular salt. Is there any particular reason why black salt is used?
Black salt give more flavor, better than the normal salt.
Okay.
It already have some smoky flavor inside the black salt. That's why we are using the black salt.
Okay.
And salt also. Both are 50%.
Okay, and one last question I'd like to ask chef. When you're using the salyas for your chicken tikka or for your kebabs or even for the seekh kebab, does the salya need to be cold or hot?
Yeah, it's very good question. We need salya is very cold, not too hot. If you hot, the all meat going to down inside the tandoor.
Thank you very much, chef. That has been a wonderful learning session. For us. Thank you so much. Very, very grateful on behalf of Don Bosco, both to you, to Harminder, to Parmeet for stepping in at the last minute and doing an exemplary, beautiful showing for us. There is so much that we have learned today. I'm very, very happy and grateful. I hope, Chef, you have enjoyed it. Viewers, I hope you have enjoyed this session of ours. Both of you. Chef, I want to ask if you have anything, share with the students. Would you like to say something to our students?
I have to share a lot of things, but one sentence I have to tell all students, while you were learning inside the college or something, that time and when you go for industrial training, it's totally different. You need the very small things, you need hard working, and you have to be calm always.
Absolutely.
To get angry.
Yeah. Thank you, Chef. That is superb. You are a phenomenal chef. That's very evident from all the dishes that you have created for us today. Thank you so much. Irfan, I want to ask you one question.
Yes.
Students working in the hot kitchen, anything that you'd like to share with them?
Okay, I think working in any kitchen, first of all, is fabulous. Like Chef said, lots of hard work. It's sometimes very frustrating, but you need to stick with it. The key is resilience. This industry is just changing completely. I think anybody who wants to join the hot kitchen has his head on his shoulders. Again, there's one thing you need to remember: go for it wholeheartedly. But very, very important, don't think that you guys in the kitchen are better than the guys in the front of house and vice versa. I think it's really, really important to make sure that you work as a team. I know Annabelle will be the most happiest person hearing me say this, but yeah,
Truly.
you have to really work together. And that's one thing I've made sure in my whole career, is just to make sure that everybody works well together, because a divided restaurant or organization is a failure in my eyes. And it's a tough thing to do. It needs resilience. It needs constant talking. It needs a lot of effort. But yeah, hot kitchen, hands down.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much, both Irfan and Chef Arun. On behalf of Don Bosco, I'd like to, personally thank both of you for a beautiful session with lovely food that we have seen. I wish, all this was live in front of us in college and we could eat, and we look forward to that. I'm sure Ma'am Annabelle will love to add to that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I say this as you can see me, right? Or
Yes,
again,
ma'am.
it's
Now
my
we can see
curtain.
the curtain. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
No, ma'am, not
Okay,
the
there you
curtain.
go. All right.
Yes.
So I had to take a while to wipe my my mouth because I was drooling as I was watching both of you, Chef Irfan and Chef Arun. Thank you so much, Meher. Thank you for getting this together. I have learned a lot. I've written a lot. Made sure that we got our notes down as always.
Yes.
But it's always a pleasure, really, to watch passionate people doing what they absolutely love. And I can definitely see it from both of you. On behalf of Don Bosco, Meher ma'am, the entire webinar team that has been working on the back of this to make sure that all this happens, Chef Belroy and our two students, Rahul and Justin, to Susan ma'am, Roma ma'am, Chef Prasad and Andre sir, especially Andre sir, who gets all the, all our wonderful taglines for our webinars. Meher, thank you so much. And again, to everybody that took the time to come here, I'm sure you're all going to go straight from here to the kitchen. I know I'm going to try first for sure, the mustard sauce,
Yes.
because the rest of it is going to take a long time. And the paneer for sure.
But
Because all of those
make
things,
sure you soak the mustard overnight.
yeah, which is going to be like, okay, but we'll,
Yeah.
tomorrow you'll have a picture of it for sure. Thank you so much again. And from all of us at Don Bosco, good night. Have a wonderful evening. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of eating because everybody's going straight from here to the kitchen. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you
Good
very
night.
much.
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thanks, Irfan. Thank you, Chef Arun.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Irfan. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Irfan,
Bye-bye.
waiting to meet you in person.
Absolutely.
It's always so much of fun.
Should I leave?
Bye-bye. Bye. There you go.